We are live on Live Reality Games Facebook page and YouTube channel talking about Sequester episode 7. So I'm here as always with my man Pat. How you doing, Pat?
Doing well. How you doing, Luke?
Great, thank you. And our guest tonight is Jamie Boots, who was the winner of the first COVID era of Sequester minis. He is the veteran of many live reality games. I know firsthand how great of a player Jamie is. So we're psyched to have him on the podcast and talk about Sequester.
Hey, fellas. Thanks so much for having me and adjusting the time to accommodate since it's 3 hours behind you guys. But happy to be here and talk Sequester.
We're so happy to have you.
We're excited. So, Jamie, I follow you on Twitter, which if you're not following Jamie on Twitter, you should go do that right now. So I know a little bit about your thoughts on the season, but just give us a brief description of what you thought of the season so far.
Okay, so real quick, follow me on Twitter or Instagram at Jamie, UMUH Jamie. I am loving this season. It's so good. The drama is so good. Everyone there is hungry, is playing. It's been really, really great to watch. It's refreshing to see the format switch up. I love how twists that were tried out in the mini era are being implemented into the live games. Everything, it's super exciting. The production value is amazing as well. So I'm really enjoying it.
Yeah, it's definitely has a very different vibe from the previous seasons, partly because of the interconnectedness of the minis and having a smaller cast. Like, it is different. I think in the future, I would like to see a bigger cast because I feel like the people that were on the bottom in the beginning, even though some of them are still in, have had some trouble getting traction in the game. And now we're like already at the end. So I do like having the bigger cast. So I wouldn't be mad if we went back to that. But yeah, I think the season has been fantastic from a strategic point of view. I think all of the players there are playing so hard and they're so hungry to win. And as we see, it causes a lot of drama in the house.
It does.
We're good for like a weekly blow up, like right after they choose people to go into the battle match, which is awesome, honestly.
Yeah, we've said sometimes the speeches can get a little bit long. Like we don't need like
I always wonder if like they're being cued to give a speech at different points because it's like everything requires a speech, and sometimes I'm like, you've already drove home that point. Like we're tired of hearing about it.
Yes.
Let's move on here. Or you come back from winning. If I was playing and I won a battle match, I'd come back. And I'm not going to give some big ass speech telling you guys to like kiss my ass or something because now I need to go ahead and work it. So I'm going to be like, thanks everyone. Like I did my best, blah, blah, blah. Let's do it. Shift the focus off of you. But everyone gets up there like they're running for president and gives this speech of just like, and then they just like spew shit that makes people mad at them. It's very confusing to me. But
well, I was confused by Muna's speech in this one because she was like saying, you guys need to stop underestimating me. But I'm like, how are you being underestimated if they're like voting you out as a big threat? Like people literally voted her out because they're scared to go against her in the end. And then she's like, stop underestimating me. Yeah. I was like, clearly not.
Yeah, you're pegged on the right level, Muna. Like you were a big threat coming in. You're still a big threat. Not weeks in, but 7 episodes in. Like we got you, girl.
Muna is definitely an interesting character. But the biggest issue that I have is that in one frame, a huge threat, a beast, like very strategic, there to kill it. You better look right and look left before you cross that street to get her. But then in the next one, it's a bitch move to pick her to battle and she's being underestimated. Like, no, honey, you are a threat. Like, but on the flip side of all that, she's the queen of emotional manipulation, which is how she's getting people like Spencer and Jacob who are going against her. She's getting them to come back to her with their tail between their legs. You know what I'm saying? So it's definitely all in her mind is insane. But the way that in one breath she's a victim and then in the next one she's the queen strategist, it's very like, I guess it makes for dynamic conversation.
100%.
Yeah, one other thing that I didn't appreciate is just she felt very talked over by Spencer in like a previous episode. Like, Spencer's talking over me. And then like she would not let Marcelo get in a single word when he tried to like speak after she was already done. Like, her speech was done, and he tried the same thing. Nope, it's over, cut, end scene. Don't even talk. I don't want to hear it. I was like, it's a little bit hypocritical.
Yeah, and for
I feel like. Go ahead, sorry.
Oh, I was gonna say, just real quick, even just for Team TV, like aspects of it, like the best amount of drama, which I know they're all trying to bring because they are characters inside and out of the game. But it's like, just let him speak then. Let him get that rebuttal back. But Jamie, go ahead.
All I was gonna do is throw in a little shade there. I think that they're so used to not hearing Marcelo say anything in the game that maybe they just shut it down when he does talk.
Oh man, Marcelo was cracking me up in this episode because obviously he's in the hot seat, and his face the entire time was, "Guys, I swear, like da 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 da," but his face was just like a deer in headlights look for the entire thing. I was like, Marcelo, like, just buck up a little bit, please.
Very panicked. That
you could see him shaking.
Watching it, it's just like he is just like so panicked about it, and hey, the emotions get you.
Yeah, what Josh was saying about how like Marcelo's a coward, he's gonna crumble under the heat of a battle match. I was like, that's kind of harsh, but like it did happen though. Like it's pretty much what happened to Marcelo. I think just not even in the strategic talks, he was a deer in headlights, but also in the battle match, he was like shaken. I don't feel like he was concentrating. I listened to his ex interview and he said he was just like physically and emotionally drained from the experience. So I really don't think he was in the headspace to really like compete at that high level in the battle match either.
No. And it's like he was really, like he was saying too, like he just hit a point where he was exhausted. And it's like you see that at the end where he just lays down in defeat because like emotionally that's one level. And then physically too, like not that it's like ridiculously heavy, but he's running back and forth, jumping over center blocks. It's probably one of the more physical challengers there's been. And
yeah, the most physical.
100%. And he just like not passed out, but just like hit the ground. He was like, just relief almost. So, you know, a good competitor though, all the same. Jacob versus Marcelo, which we'll get to, was one of the better ones so far, but we'll get there.
Yeah. What I do respect about Marcelo's game is, other than Billy, he's the last person to go into a battle match. He was one and done, one battle match and he's gone. But the fact that he went that long without getting picked for one, you know, he gets a lot of crap for playing a passive game or playing scared or whatever. And I feel like that's definitely not the game that Sequester respects or rewards. It's not the kind of personalities that Audrey casts. But me personally, you know, coming from more of like the Survivor and Big Brother end of things, I respect people that can like not get nominated for a really long time. You can fly under the radar, even though they're actually, you know, they have a lot of connections. So I do respect Marcelo.
I feel like with Marcelo, and this kind of applies to other people that play different games as well, like it's fine at times to be a passive player and to sort of own that you're playing that route and you're trying to be under the radar. The biggest thing that bothers me about Marcelo is when he gets to the diary room and thinks he's the king, thinks he's played the best game. He talks about other people like they're doing nothing. And it's like someone like Natalie who literally has to fight to even get one space forward, and he's proud of her. Like,
true,
bro, come on. Like this girl is fighting. Everyone is fighting there. It's the condescending tone I feel like that comes across in the diary room is this holier than thou. Like I'm a chief strategist. Like I think he was really good in minis. I don't know. Didn't follow things too much, but I think he was in there with like in his own head about his reputation and about, you know, how great of a player he is, but it didn't translate into the live, but he still talked it up like it did.
Yeah. And he had a very much like, I forget if it was I think it was the first mini, because I don't know if it was Winners I don't think it was Winners at Work because he ran that one, but him and Jacob, like, I don't want to say ran the shit, but they definitely like were running it. And that doesn't, like you said, doesn't translate well to the live game because it's like, you know, and Luke's obviously played one too. I haven't yet, but like when you go into the online game, you can switch rooms. You can kind of keep it low key that you're with someone, but when you come in already with the target, which we'll probably get to, on their backs of Jacob and Marcelo being a thing, and then you try to like actually physically walk around, that shit is a whole other dynamic, which it can be harder online, but that's a whole other level to be like, oh shit, like this is wild.
Steven Stewart commented something that we were kind of saying. There's a lot of condescending tones in the diary room, not just for Marcelo, but in general. And this is, you know, Hannah couldn't be on the podcast tonight, but she messaged me her thoughts. And she was really saying it's hard to find somebody to root for this season because everybody's in the diary room going in. I'm running this thing, you know, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. Everybody else is playing scared. And it's like, come on, you got to give these people a little bit of credit. Like, it just gets old, and that's why I think me and a lot of other people kind of gravitate towards Natalie, who is not so, you know, talking trash about everybody in the diary room, but more just kind of focused on like her own game and like being more self-aware, I think, about where she's at.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, it's kind of twofold because on one hand, yeah, I think there's a lot of people that think they're bigger players in their head than they actually are in the game, and they came in and their ego was just so goddamn big that, you know, they have themselves convinced that they're the biggest threats. But then on the other hand, also from playing in live games and also playing in a Sequester mini or two, you want to pump yourself up. You want to believe in yourself. That's when you perform your best. So maybe it's not the most glamorous thing and the most enjoyable to watch. And I've watched myself, in games that have been edited and are posted online, and I'm like, holy shit, I'm a dick, But just in the moment, you're just sort of having reactions and, speaking first and thinking later. So I get it, but at the same time, there's definitely some people in the game that really have themselves chalked up in their mind because of the minis that they played. And I think it would have been better for them to come in and present themselves as just like another player that's going to prove themselves rather than acting like they've already proven it to everyone. Because a lot of people were like, who is Muna? Who is Jacob? Like, Jacob was the first, I think, 2-time mini winner, but not everyone that watches Sequester Live is going to know that. So when you come in with your chest puffed out like you're the shit, it's confusing and it makes people, not want to root for you.
Yes.
Yeah.
I 100% agree. And I think for me, I follow it. Like I watch Winners at War. I've seen some of the more popular ones. And then like of the I don't want to say celebrity, but the non-Survivor, non-Big Brother ones, I've watched like handfuls here or there just to catch up on. And I'll come in and there's people like Natalie, and there's people like, I'm trying to think of someone else like Josh, where I'm not necessarily like fully, like, I don't really know what their game's all about. So they've also done a good job of like going in the diary room and being like, here is my game I'm playing. Here are the moves I'm actually mastering. But they're not just saying it, they're showing us by doing it too, which for me, as someone who watches them, probably like 50 to 75% of them, it helps me to get that last 25%. I'm like, oh shit, that's who your character is. But like you're saying, if you don't know that other 50% of it and you just watch the live games, which obviously we're all fine with, Audrey's obviously fine with, then it's like, damn, like how the hell would you catch up? Like you'd be like, who the fuck is Muna? Even though she's a great lady, you'd still be like, who? What? Like, what's going on? Why does everyone know her? I love her. I'm a Muna stan from day one. But it's true. You'd be like, I mean, I love her, but like, who is this like queen? Where did she come from? How does everyone know her? And then you'd be like, well, oh, okay. There's the background.
I mean, I've talked to a couple people that had not watched any minis at all, and after episode 1, I was like, oh, like, who do you like? What are your thoughts? And they're like, who does Muna think she is? Like, why does this girl like think that she's, going to be the main character, this and that? And, I do get that perspective too of like if you don't know the background of the minis, you're not going to appreciate these characters maybe the some way that others are. Joseph Boza commented that it was hard for him to care about this twist because it was really obvious that we were going to lose Marcelo. I think we said on the podcast last week that it was either going to be Jacob or Marcelo leaving in the next episode. Obviously Jacob got voted out, but Marcelo paid the price. But what did you guys think of this twist overall? Were you a fan of the twist? Do you think it was ended up with too obvious of a result? What do you guys think?
I think it's a cool twist for the moves that you can make with it. Like definitely strategy wise, it's cool that they can go in front of the jury and someone like Natalie or Josh can really pitch their case either subliminally or explicitly and just say like, here's what I'm doing, but also here's why I want to get these two people on the block. So that was cool. But was it Joseph? That was Joseph's point, or was it? Yeah. So I think Joseph definitely has a great point there where it's like, we kind of knew going in that even though Sequester doesn't really have too big of an edit, we still kind of knew like, all right, this is where the train tracks are kind of going. So it was kind of cool to see that madness unfold. Though at points I was kind of like, all right, let's just kind of get there. But what'd you think, Jamie?
For me, it wasn't my favorite twist. It's a great twist in theory, but I feel like you got to have this twist before you have the battle back because, Muna was already on the jury. So I feel like they voted for Billy because Muna told them to. She's very good at reading a room and being able to tell people what they need to hear in that moment. Like, she is a very skilled player. So I think that she almost was a little bit benefited by the fact that she had already spent time with them because she had been out of the game. So I feel like you either run this twist pre-battle back, so you only have options to choose from people that haven't been on the jury. But I think this twist was sort of like a segue from the twist where in season 3, where you had to like plead your case almost like a lawyer, where everyone ganged up on Erica. Yep. I loved that twist. That was my absolute favorite twist. It kind of went to a dud when they like did all the shit on Erica because it was easy to just piggyback because people play scared. But I would much rather see that than this.
I agree, 100%.
Yeah, I saw Brent say on Twitter that the reason they were going to pick either Muna or Billy is because they had just been blindsided the previous round, which I do get that, the jury wants to see things shaken up. They don't want the people at the top to stay at the top. But in my opinion, like, they're kind of punishing Jacob specifically for making a big move. Like, Jacob just pulled off this awesome thing, and he didn't even get his target out. Like, Jacob really got no benefit from, all of this stuff that happened where he tried to get out Muna. Now he has somebody whose his target is still in the house trying to get him out, and the jury is also punishing him for what he just did. So, I don't know. I have mixed feelings about it. One thing that I thought was interesting, that it seemed like Brendan and Katie were purposely wanting Muna's LOS flushed, and that's why they wanted either Jacob or Marcelo to be the one that's voted out. So I thought that was interesting from them.
Yeah, and it's like a weird, I don't want to say a weird stance because I know, I think it is kind of a weird stance because I felt like when Muna came back into the game, at least, I know maybe her and Katie had some weird blood, not necessarily bad blood when Katie got voted out, but when Muna made it back into the game, Katie seemed pretty gung-ho on that, like on Muna becoming like the eventual winner or getting far, or at least having her come back in and make moves. So that's why I'm like, I was a little confused by that, but I guess if they just kind of want to see some like drama and they want to see some fireworks unfold, then maybe that's where they're coming from. But I was a little confused on Katie's motives, but I guess Brendan, there's been more to it there.
Well, I think I also saw Katie say on Twitter that the jury was expecting like, either Jacob or Marcelo is going to vote it out and they're going to pick either Muna or Billy, and Billy's safe. Muna's LOS is going to be flushed. Maybe then they pick Josh and Josh's LOS is flushed. So
True.
I think that they were wanting just like a big result with like maybe some fireworks happening.
Yeah,
and maybe they just want everybody to be on a more even playing field too. Like, let's just flush the advantages out of the game.
True. That's true too.
Does anyone actually know that Josh has an LOS?
I don't think
Past
so.
the point of hypothesizing about it.
No.
I'm proud for that. Proud for that. That's
I know, and he's had it the whole game.
No one's compared notes about Luxury Row either. That's really confusing.
Yes,
no
right.
one's utilized Luxury Row as like a reason to vote for someone. Like if I were someone like Spencer or Muna who has been in there and received nothing, I'd be like, listen, we gotta vote for Josh this time because I went in 3 times and never got anything. Like he went in first. Your chances are probably higher going in first.
Yep.
So like nobody's really I didn't think of the right word there. Nobody's usually or actually using that as like a reason to go after someone.
It's like a shitty season of Survivor, but it reminds me of Island of the Idols where they literally almost all go except for Tommy, and then none of them compare notes to be like, yo, this place with Sandra and Boston Rob exists. Can we talk about it? And then yeah, I feel like that. I think it was like a covert thing they just did with the editing, probably because there's a bunch of other BS happening. But a lot of times where they create like a Luxury Road type thing, it's like, dude, if you don't compare notes, then it's like, how would you know it's going to happen? So I'm assuming that if that was going to happen and it would lead to some storyline, which it inevitably would, like a huge blow up of using a lot of LOSs, that we would see it. So that's why it's like weird that it just hasn't happened.
Yeah, I was wondering what Muna was thinking when she saw Luxury Row, because it's very late in the game and she's seeing it for the first time. If I was her, I'd be like, oh man, Spencer definitely has something, right? Like he came to this place 3 times. This man has something.
It's like not only is nobody like using it, but I feel like we're not even seeing them talk in the diary room about it. It's like they go and then it's like this like fabled land of something that you visit after you win and then everyone forgets about it. Like no one even is sitting in the diary room like, well, I didn't get this. So, here are the people that have been eliminated. I wonder if, they got this. That means this person or this person has something.
They just skip that. They're just like, we don't have, it's almost like they had a dream and then you wake up from the dream and you forget it. Like that's every time it happens. And it's like, but it's an LOS. Like that is such a power, or an LOS or the second, I don't know if they actually named the second advantage.
Battle Pass. Yeah.
The battle, yes.
Battle Pass,
Battle Pass, which is like a crazy advantage too. So it's like, these are like game, I don't want to say game changing, that's like, but like it really is like a game like forwarding advantage that's put in and they just don't mention it. And like you said, they're not like on the metaphorical whiteboard, like circling who has it. They're literally just like, okay, I would be all about that, all on that.
It's going to be interesting because I'm pretty sure last round is the last round you can use any advantage. So Jacob could basically get immunity. Well, not immunity, so he could still be voted out, but he could get the battle pass and then, that could be
I
interesting.
forgot about that. I
Ends
forgot
up
about
back in
that.
Jacob's hands. So I think our last luxury row is going to be the beginning of next episode.
It's final 6. That makes sense.
Yeah. Going back. Oh, go ahead.
You think they put maybe an LOS instead of a battle pass, considering there's only been 2 LOSs in play, or is that too?
I'm pretty sure it's going to be a battle pass because they've used the word replenished before, as in like they're going to replenish the advantage once it's used. So I'm pretty sure it's the battle pass. Going back to just like the twist of the night, who do you think gave the best speech? Who do you think was, regardless of who the jury picked, who did you guys, sitting at home think had the best jury speech?
I'm biased towards this person. I vibed with Billy only because I think coming into this season, and we mentioned this, I think it was last week, that Billy really, like, she made it to the finals of her mini and then lost because, like I've mentioned multiple times, but like she knows she didn't realize the format of the game was as such as it was, so she wasn't prepared for the finals. So I really, coming into this season, I was like, I think Billy can win this, but the number one thing she has to work on is pitching her case and not throwing loyalty out the window, but actually putting forth her best foot and saying, whenever it comes time, I was the assassin, or I was the person who got Jacob and Marcelo nominated, or I was the person that did this. And she sat up there and she literally made a jury member cry in favor of her. Like, she's doing the damn thing. So as much, and I want to hear your guys' opinion too. So I kind of wanted to give like an almost out of the box one, but when I was watching it, I was like enthralled. I was like, oh shit, like I'm actually on board for, as I have been the whole time, but like Billy CEO, I want to see the W, and she gets a chance to like pre-pitch to the jury what we already know at home. But what do you guys think?
So for me, Billy is probably my favorite to win, who I would like to see win. As far as this twist, as a spectator, I was thoroughly impressed with Josh. I think he would be dangerous sitting at the end.
Yes.
Trying to put myself in a player point of view and like a jury point of view, Mona played to the jury the way that none of the rest of them did. She was like very personable with it and calling other people, saying that they're not doing things. She recognized the fact that the people sitting in that room lost battles. They weren't voted. And I feel like she was one of the only people that really touched on that and really harnessed that. And so she played to the strengths of that there. So I think she definitely played it the best as far as from a player, but from a viewer, I just loved watching Josh in the DR. I love his reads on people. I loved watching him clap back at Marcelo. And I just think he's very, very articulate. And I'm just enjoying that as a viewer.
Yeah, I have to say that I liked Josh as the best by far because I feel like he explained his game the most concise, intelligent way. Like, I think that what he was saying about noticing who the power players were in the beginning were the people that he was vibing with, and that even though he was working with Muna, Rachel, Shireen, and Billy, they was like simultaneously working with them, but also trying to like dismantle the power structure during the game, which is something that I've heard him say in the DR, similar things to that, which I think is very impressive that that he was observing that even that early in the game, and that he was basically undermining them while smiling in their face. And I've really appreciated that. Billy, I've been up and down on Billy. I think that, man, the fact that she hasn't gone into a battle match yet and that nobody knows she's the assassin, like if she gets to the end, she deserves to win, period. But I cannot stand this loyalty stuff. It drives me nuts every time that she gives a speech about it. And, I don't really get why Brent was crying over her speech. Obviously, they're all emotionally drained. I've been in a live game. I know what it's like. But I didn't really get it. Personally.
Yeah, I just think like we can see the flaws in her game. I'm just curious who she goes if she makes it to the end. Let's say I'm curious to see who she goes against, and then if they poke those holes in her game as well. Like to have whoever she goes against, if she goes against someone who's very strategic and very like cerebral, honestly like a Josh or someone like that, then it's almost like clipped for her because she really has to think like, okay, does this person know that I have holes in my like loyalty game? And if that person, say Josh, does know, it's over for Billy. But if she goes with someone who's not going to articulate well against her, which at this point, I don't know who that would really be. I don't want to say Natalie because Natalie really articulated her points well. Spencer or something. Honestly, even Natalie, like I feel like Billy would play up the loyalty game and Natalie would try to go for the strategic route. So it really depends. I would just like to see it most because after watching this, like I agree wholeheartedly. Like Josh was a very interesting one. Natalie was a very interesting one to watch as a viewer and strategically. But Billy's, I was like, ooh, I kind of want to see that again because what the hell would happen in a final with that?
I love Billy to death, but if she gets to the end of the game, I'm just praying that her pitch is that she really crafted this loyalty angle and hid behind it and used it. I don't want to hear her be like, I'm loyal, because honey, you've been loyal to everybody. You've literally worked with everyone, and that's being loyal to nobody. So I want her to just admit that she used guilt. She used manipulation. She threatened people. She worked out in front of them, that she did all of that stuff. And she wasn't actually trying to be everyone's friend and wasn't actually trying to be loyal. I don't want to see her get to the end and hear her talk about this perceived loyalty. The mantra of the game is trust us, trust no one. She needs to get there and just be like, I made you guys feel bad and made you second guess if you want to go after me or call me out for a battle. But I was ready to cut all of you at any point and any time. I just don't know if she's going to go that route.
You know what though? I do agree because if she goes that route, that shit is masterful.
That is like, might be one of the best ever that has played.
100%.
Exactly.
Like,
yes.
But if in her head, she's thinking that this is a game of loyalty and trust and you should get to the end nobly, and she tries to paint that, it's just like, I don't know, it's flawed strategic mindsets. I think, especially for a game of sharks. Game of sharks, you know, it's just not the angle you need to go towards. So let's see if she learned from her many mistakes, you know, and not being able to sell herself.
It's true.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think that she will give the big reveal speech about manipulating everybody because she's never said anything to that effect in the diary room, really.
Right.
She, in specific round, she's like, there was one round where she's like, I'm going to play Spencer. But that was because, Spencer betrayed her first or Spencer did something to piss her off. So then she was justified in going after him. It's always... Somebody was texting me that they, Vanessa is from Big Brother is like Billy reminds them of Vanessa because she always needs a reason to do something.
Yeah.
But Vanessa actually, I feel like wasn't actually playing that emotionally. Like she was playing strategically and like kind of covered it up with emotions.
Yes.
But Billy, I feel like the loyalty requires exclusivity, and she was not exclusive with people. Like you said, you said, it was just like. Everybody.
Did you guys notice when she was pitching to the jury? And I'm sorry for interrupting you.
No, go ahead.
Did you notice when she was pitching to the jury, she talked about how she was aligned with Marcelo and never voted for him, and then 3 breaths later explained a reason why she voted for Marcelo instead of Brent. And I was like, honey, you just said you didn't vote for him, and then you just talked about how you didn't vote for Brent because he swayed you, so you voted for your ally. Like, just own it. Just own it.
And it's a good point too. Like I think I'm just really projecting that I want her to play this masterful, devious thing. But another good point too is we're final 6, and then there'll be 4 more people on the jury if she makes it there. So she has to put 4 of these people left that she's crossed, but she has to cross even more to get to the finals. So if she has to get to the finals by outright voting out or battling out 2 people and then having to go through the final 4, which is probably the most tumultuous thing in the game at that point. So it's really like she has to cross like at least 3 or 4 more people and then has to go pitch to them how she's loyal. So that's a good point that I didn't even consider, that the end game for her is really going to be like, she has to own it.
Are we going to talk about how we think the rest will play out, who we think will sit at the end? Because I think one person is locked. But if we are talking about that like later on, I'd be happy to. But
yeah, maybe let's just say that for the end.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm done.
Anything else stick out to you guys about any of these pitches? I was a little bit surprised at who was it? Marcelo. He was pitching Jacob and Josh as the people that he thought should go up, which is a little surprising to me that he was like, throwing Jacob under the bus that easily. even in the jury speeches, maybe he thought that's like what the jury wanted to hear, or like maybe Jacob was like his sacrificial lamb, like, oh, well, I'll just give the jury like one of us. Maybe we'll do that. But it seemed like a very, very weird pairing for me, Josh and Jacob coming from Marcelo.
Yeah.
I feel like he probably, go ahead.
No, you go, Jamie.
I feel like he probably went into that thinking that him and Jacob were the easy set. You know what I'm saying? Because as much as people want to like make big moves, there kind of keeps being a target each round that everyone kind of like wants to gang up and go on. So I feel like he figured that he and Jacob were going to be the people put up. And so he probably thought, maybe this is just how I think, and he didn't actually think like this at all. But he probably thought the next most likely person to get any votes is Josh. So that's why I paired him up with Josh. And so if you're saying to the jury, and you're throwing Jacob under the bus to them, I think he was trying to maybe play that up a little, like, hey, I'm in the know. Like, I know Jacob, is kind of snaky and might go up here, but I'm willing to cut him. So like, maybe don't pick someone that does the both of us, but he's still nominated if you pick me. That's what I thought about it.
Mm-hmm. I was very aligned with that too. I was thinking that, and also just like he's trying like the big move idea, and it's also like a little bit of himself can kind of go up, because if Jacob goes up, he might drag Marcelo, which is obviously what happened anyway. So maybe he's thinking like, hey, I'm putting up Josh, who I see as a big threat and hasn't been put in a battle, or he has been, but he hasn't been put in a battle in a long time. But I'm also putting up Jacob, who can really shoot myself in the foot. So it's like a little give and take. I'm curious though. I didn't listen to the exit interview, so I want to see what Marcelo's mindset was. But from what Hannah kind of gleaned to us, and then obviously Luke mentioned before,
I listened to it too.
Oh, you listened to it too, right? So I feel like it seemed like he was just exhausted from what it seemed like.
Why was he exhausted?
No, sorry. It just seemed like he was exhausted, like
mentally. Oh yeah, for sure.
So at that point, it was kind of like, all right, F it. Let's just do the battle match and see if I can win.
He didn't really clarify why he said Josh and Jacob for the jury speeches. But one thing I did think was interesting from his exit interview is that he legitimately for most of the game wanted to go to the end with Muna, Billy, and Jacob. Like for a long time, he said that was his actual final four, which really surprises me because I did not get that sense from Marcelo at all. But yeah, that was interesting. One reason I think maybe they didn't pick Josh, now that I'm looking at my notes, his noms were Muna and Billy, which I don't think was going to go over, period. But the jury knows that Muna has an LOS. And I think they also really support Billy. And so they're like, we don't want to basically guarantee that Billy is going into a battle match, even if, and Josh is saying, they're going to pick Marcelo anyway. So you get what you want, which is to see Marcelo in a battle match. But I feel like, going with Muna and Billy for Josh was not the best play. Even if he gave the best speech in the world, the jury is not going to put Muna and Billy for the nomination. Spencer was cracking me up because he was so serious during the whole thing. He said, I want to nominate Muna and Billy, or no, Jacob and Marcelo, because they're playing it easy. They say that they're loyal, but they don't believe in loyalty at all. He was just so serious. I was like, Spencer, just chill a little bit, loosen up, dude.
Spencer actually isn't in the game anymore. He's swapped out with his twin brother Sean.
Right.
He's a lot more calm, cool, and collected. Because that is not the same fucking person that I saw in the first couple episodes. I've been so confused. I'm like, you're making good reads? You're talking to people with dignity and respect? You're figuring out what's actually going on, and now you're aligning with people that are gonna help you get far?
It seemed completely different. There were points where I even forgot he was there, and I was like, that's a first for this season.
Right?
He's been on everyone's radar constantly. And since week 2 or 3, I've literally been like, he needs a cool down episode. He needs a cool down episode. Literally, not his edit. I mean, he literally needs to just float for a round. You're good. And it's almost like this round, he didn't necessarily float, but he wasn't making big moves. And that's, hey, it got him another round. So honestly, that's all he can ask for at this point.
He was the only person who nobody said to nominate.
Yes.
The only person, which is crazy.
Yes. Which is wild.
I mean, I think they just don't want to put him in another battle match because he's already done 3, and they feel bad a little bit, and they want to switch up the game. But yeah, it was surprising. I thought. So yeah, and Jacob ended up pitching Muna and Natalie. I don't think that the jury was ever going to give it to Jacob, and I also thought that Jacob's speech was pretty bad.
Yeah, I don't even remember it really. I only watched once this week though, so maybe that's why. But it seemed very unmemorable when it happened.
Well, but like, wasn't a lot of substance to it. I didn't feel like.
Yeah.
Marcelo's was the worst though, because the first thing he said when he walked in was, "I'm the mastermind.
Girl.
I've been playing the best game, and
Girl.
I didn't bullshit anybody." And I was like, "So you're saying that you're the mastermind, and simultaneously you didn't bullshit anybody? Like those two things don't go together. First of all,
It's true.
and also like, yeah, the jury obviously like knows you're not the mastermind of the game.
I think
dude.
that was the start of his panic. You could hear it in his voice.
Yeah,
he was really, like really, really nervous about it. And it's like, the more nervous that you're looking in that moment, the more it seems like you're trying to sell bullshit, which I think you are.
Yeah.
And then in his diary room that like corresponded with it, he was like, these people aren't going to think that I'm playing a good game. So the first thing you walk in and say, "You're the king." What?
Yeah.
What?
Humble pie.
Public
Yeah.
speaking 101. Know the room, read the room, address the room.
Oh, and that energy was so bad when he was talking, and they kept panning to the people. Granted, they were in masks, like they're like masquerade, but still,
Shireen head tilt.
yeah.
I think that was for Spencer's, but
dude, yeah, but even still, like the whole time, I was like, "Shit, this is so awkward."
yeah. So
And then they were
obviously-
saying like that, where they were playing that like cheesy music behind it, and I just kind of felt like Tamar and Celebrity Big Brother with the grapes. Like I'm just like, oh damn, they're eating him up right now. They are not.
Oh god.
So Fembot announces that it is obviously going to be Jacob Marcello nominated. I think Jacob pretty quickly realized he was not going to get Muna and Billy's votes, even though Billy had she said different things at different points in the episode. At one point she said Marcello, and then later she changed her mind to Billy. Anyways, Jacob knows his votes are going to be Natalie, Spencer, and hopefully Josh. Josh in his mind is the swing vote, which I thought was good on Josh. What I was surprised at is just how much time Jacob and Marcello spent arguing with each other and not trying to sway people's votes. I was like, come on, guys. Like, and other than that, there's a great possibility that both of you are going to survive the round. So why are you literally going at each other, attacking each other so hard when theoretically you could both survive the round and work together in the next one? Like, it made no sense to me at all. How neither of them played this round.
That was a very specific, like, it was a specifically, in my opinion, awful play on Marcello's part, because like y'all were saying too, like at this point he was full on shaky panic. Like it wasn't even just like nervous. He was like clearly out of the game for like emotionally. And I can empathize like having anxiety, so I totally get it. But at the same time, like when he started fighting with Jacob, that's when I was like, dude, if you get on Jacob's good side, which you theoretically, you have great foundations to build this relationship back up that wasn't even really that deteriorated, then Jacob could drag someone else. But he really made it in the sense that it was Marcello versus Jacob, because he just wouldn't leave him alone. And then once Marcello finally pushed him towards the edge, then Jacob was like, oh, basically I can get loud too. And he did. And I loved it. But at that point I was like, oh, I love this. But it's like, you could have spun it so that Jacob could have faced literally anyone else in the battle match. But no.
I feel like they played it so hasty, first of all. And the time that they spent arguing with each other was just unnecessary. I mean, I can understand it. You kind of want to prove to everyone that this person's a piece of shit. So like vote for them. So like, yeah, I'll go cuss them out. But the biggest thing that was annoying for me is that Jacob plays the game like he's ready to sell his mother up the river to win. And so when Marcello goes and admits to people, hey, I voted for Muna in the last round because Jacob was pushing that. And Jacob was so hurt. I was like, honey, the audacity. Like, first of all, you turned on Muna, who like loves you, who respects you. You completely and totally fucking blindsided her. And then now you're mad that you crafted that and people are ratting you out. Like, I would have put that bus in drive, ran your ass over, put it in reverse, and made sure I really got you. But like the audacity of you say anything to anyone and throw anyone under the bus, and you're so upset about it. I don't know how Jacob has really spun his web so well in this. Maybe it's just me, but when I see Jacob and I see him talking and talking game, it's very used car salesman. It's very,
yeah, I get that vibe too.
It is not like, I don't buy it as a viewer. I never bought it as a player when I played with him. And it's just so over the top that it's just like, you can tell you're saying these same recited lines to each people or each person in the game, and sort of just kind of angling yourself in that way. But people ate it up for a while, to his credit. I don't know, not me. It got very like, this got 182,000 miles, but it'll last you for 10 years type vibe to me.
We put a new engine in it. It's like, no, we didn't, sir. No, we did not. It is rusted. But
Like
honestly,
the dad from Matilda, where he's like rewinding the fucking mileage.
it's like, sir, we know. And honestly, like, it's a good point too. Like, no one had him clocked the first couple weeks. I was like, this is Jacob. We know his game, bro. Like, he's won twice. And then eventually we're like, okay, they finally had him clocked. But
They got him.
The first couple of weeks that like when Luke Hannon and I were talking, I was like, how is Jacob not clocked? How did they not get this? And eventually now it's like he's kind of in that Spencer mode where it's like, you homie, you need to put on your disguise, the fucking Mark's glasses with the mustache, and just hide out in the back. Honestly, that's the best hope for him. But at least in the meantime, we get some blow ups. I would assume.
The only reason he got caught out the first time is because he was tethered to Spencer. Like, he wouldn't have even gone, been nominated at all. No one would have voted for him unless he was tethered to Spencer. So like, and I feel like that was the point where his game like really went into like, hyperdrive, because then Muna came back and he's targeting Muna. And from there he's been like going like 100 miles an hour. What cracks me up about Jacob this round is like, before him and Marcelo really got into it, like Marcelo was, doing his panicky thing, and Jacob goes, let's lower our voices. I'm not in the mood to yell at you. 5 minutes later, I don't give a fuck. I mean, he's in the kitchen and he is clapping. And like, then Marcelo's the one who's like, he's talking like in a low, like pretty calm voice. And like, Jacob just goes from like 0 to 100. And like at different times, Marcelo was raising his voice too, but it was more of like, why are you getting so mad? That kind of thing.
Yeah, like afraid. And this is the big clap. We were wondering for a long time.
What the clap would be.
Yeah.
And then we finally
All
got
those
it.
signature moments happened to this one where, your guys are playing emotionally.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, the moment that made me crack up is when Marcelo and Jacob are arguing, and then like Marcelo asks Spencer to leave. Like, what are you doing? Like, this guy, why are you?
Please, I don't need your vote. Please go away.
Yeah, that was crazy. They literally shut him out, like shut the door on his face. I was like, this is insane.
So while those two are going at it for who knows why, this kind of final four is being solidified amongst, the core is Billy and Muna. I think Josh is kind of the third, and they're like originally going to make a four with Natalie, but because Marcelo exposed that Natalie was in on the Muna plan, they decide to bring in Spencer instead. So during this episode, that is the plan for the final four. What do you guys think of that final four? Do you think it's going to stick? Do you think that, it seems like Josh maybe has an incentive to work with Natalie instead? How do you guys think that's going to play out?
I think truly, if Billy is about this loyalty game, it could work. But I think the exterior too, I know, and like, girl, if that's the case, ooh. But the exterior too, like the Spencer, and then I'm blanking.
Josh and Muna.
Sorry. And Josh. So Josh, but that's like, if Billy's really about her loyalty game, she's gonna take Josh and Muna to the end, right? Like that, she has no loyalty stake. If she cuts, and that kind of cuts them at 5 or 6. So you would think that's what's gonna happen. So I don't know. In my head, I for some reason don't see this sticking in this order.
Billy. I was going to say Billy is at the center of it, because Muna even said in the episode, like, my relationship with Josh is through Billy. Muna and Spencer made up, but even like Billy and Spencer, I think, are also really close. Like, Billy has like her 3 closest allies all kind of covering her in this alliance, whereas I think Natalie, even though something that cracks me up in Natalie's speech to the jury was, I can't nominate Billy because like our loyalty is hanging on by a thread, and I have to like prove myself to her. I was like, man, the jury is going to be looking at that like, what the hell is this girl doing? Because Billy is not loyal to Natalie.
Yes.
But yeah, I think that Billy knows like Natalie is like a little uneasy with her. So she's just like, let me just take my closest 3 people. Boom, final 4.
Yeah.
I feel like Sequester, it's so hard to like, I think they want to stick to the 4, in my opinion. And here's why. I think Billy and Muna think their best opportunity to get to sit in final 2 is to be sitting in 4 with Spencer and Josh, vote Spencer out, get Josh to do it as well. And then you got Muna, who has now reconciled with Spencer, Billy, who Spencer falsely believes is like his closest ally, and Josh, who now just turned on the only other guy in the 4, and they're going to make a pitch for Spencer to drag Josh. So I think the girls definitely want to stick to this. Especially because Spencer is this perceived threat. for winning his battle matches. So they definitely want to be sitting. You want to be sitting at 4 with someone that nobody wants in 2. So I think Spencer's that person. Now, the thing in the unpredictability about Sequester is just because they have a 4 doesn't mean that's how that's going to work out. It's not like the people that are 5 and 6 are going to battle each other for 6th place, and then the person that gets voted out for 5th just like evaporates or something. They still have to battle someone from the 4. You know what I'm saying? So it's definitely going to come down to battle matches, which is like the great part of it, because how boring would it be to just watch a 4 steamroll? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I definitely think that all parties involved in the 4 want to make it there with the 4. Yes. But I think Billy and Muna are kind of playing 4D chess on Josh and Spencer with it, because I think their best chance there is to vote Spencer out, have Josh do it as well, and then convince Spencer to pull Josh.
See, I do not think that Josh is into it, because he wanted to nominate Muna and Billy together. I think he sees that like one of those 2 needs to go before 4 because they're never going to vote each other out. That's my opinion on what Josh is thinking, because that's what I would be thinking. Like Muna and Billy, you know, both are, I think, loyal players in the sense that at the very least they're preaching loyalty to people, right? And I think that Josh realizes they're probably going to go together. So I don't think he wants to do that. I think Spencer is probably loyal to it. I personally don't think that Spencer can win in the end now that Marcelo is out, but it's interesting that people think that, oh, let's bring Spencer to 4 so then he's the obvious drag. I wouldn't want to vote out Spencer, or not the obvious drag, the obvious target, the person to get voted out. I would not vote out Spencer at 4.
And I don't know why I'm blanking on names all of a sudden. No, sorry. If I were Billy, or sorry, if I were Josh, I would want to go against, not that I want to go against Billy, but out of like that 4 that's left, that would be an option for like you to go to. But like you said, he's still targeted Billy and Muna as the people this round. So I don't know if he's seeing it that way. And he's trying, maybe like, I don't know if he's like realizing like who he can beat and like what the win probability is. But I think it's true that like these next 2 weeks, of course, are going, or at least the next 2 rounds, like 6 and 5, are going to be how the game shakes out, because that 4, once we get to that 4, that's going to be like, we know what's about to happen. And I'm excited. Like the end game of Sequester, like there's always that weird little like middle, like adolescent phase of Sequester where you're like, oh, this is kind of like awkward for a week or 2. Like what's happening? And then we get to like this part of Sequester where like other shows, you kind of like tune out, like Survivor. You're like, okay, Final 6, cool. There could be rocks. And then Big Brother, like if there's a steamroll, like BB16, you're like, okay, whatever. But now like Sequester kind of turns up again and we're like, oh shit, like we're actually gonna get some like juice here.
Yeah, and I think the main reason that Sequester is so good at the end is because everybody wants to win so bad. Whereas I feel like in Survivor and Big Brother, people are like, I just want to like get to the end, but they don't necessarily, you know, make their chances to win the best.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, if I was in the game, I would want Billy at 4, because I think that Billy would be my obvious vote at 4. Like she has not gone into a battle match. She's aligned with everybody. Like who else would you want to vote out at 4 but Billy?
I know.
If I was in the game, I would want to be sitting in 4 with Natalie, Spencer, and Muna, and having Muna be the obvious 4 vote, really explaining to people we have to vote her. She has connections with the jury. She was with them. They, you know, gifted her an LOS. If I so happen to obtain that knowledge, that happened. But just to touch on what you're saying about them making Spencer into a target, I think that the people in the game, or not making him into a target, into a threat, I think that the people in the game probably think that they actually can beat Spencer. But as so Jacob like eloquently displayed to us in the last round, the more you push like a fabricated lie and how much you believe it, the more it can work out. So I think they're all trying to make it seem like, okay, Spencer, he will win if he gets to the end, so that he is the 4 boot. You know what I'm saying? Whether or not they think that he'll beat them, I don't think they think that he's going to win. But I think they want to go into 4 with a target in mind, and not fearing for themselves. That's what I think.
Yeah, I think that's true. And I think it could be like one of those self-fulfilling prophecies where like if everybody thinks that Spencer is the vote at 4, then maybe everybody actually will vote for him at 4 just because they think that's like kind of the pre-formed plan. So I think that could just, you know, even if he's not the biggest threat, I think he could get voted out anyway just because people are wanting to play it safe.
Which is why the girls wanted, I think, Josh with Spencer, because if you
Yeah.
put Natalie, then it's just 3 girls and a guy, and that makes the risk of Billy and Muna, one of them getting dragged if they do vote for Spencer. But likewise, if you have Jacob there, Jacob and Spencer have, professed loyalty to each other, so Jacob's probably not going to turn on him there.
Yeah.
But Jacob, if voted, might be so inclined to drag Billy. I don't think he'll drag Muna, but to drag a Billy who he keeps talking about he has so much respect for, but she's continually making moves against him. And I know that he's smart enough to know that she does that. So I think that's why they wanted it to be Spencer with Josh.
Yeah. Well, let's go all the way forward to when the votes are revealed and it turns out that Jacob is, in fact, the person that gets voted out. I could not believe that he just picked Marcelo without even trying to flush Muna's LOS, without even seeing if Billy was safe. It makes no sense to me whatsoever. He goes, I don't know where Marcelo's head is at, and that scares me more than anything. But you know for a fact that people voted you out, and like Marcelo had no choice. He had to vote you out. But like, literally the other people wanted you gone, and you're going to pick Marcelo? Such a dumb move, in my opinion.
There's how many other votes technically? So if there's 7 people, he just got the majority, so that was 4. Like, it was a simple majority. So you eliminate his. There's 3 other people, homie.
Yeah.
Like, there's 3 other people. Like, go figure it out. Like, and my thing too was like, I'm not gonna blame him. I know emotions were running high, but strategically there has to be some blame there, because it's like you can expose, or at least try to expose, every single person that voted for you, so that when you come back in the game, you know exactly who to go after and figure out, why the hell did you vote for me? Because obviously there's no vote throwing, so why the hell did you vote for me? He didn't do that.
Yeah. I think the people that voted for him told him that they were going to vote for him anyways. Like Josh in particular, we saw that, but I think he also knew, like, he basically said he didn't want to expose votes because he knew who the votes were, which I believe him. I think he knows that Natalie and Spencer were on his side and that the other 3 were not, but I don't get not wanting to drag one of the other 3 people, which they were all theoretically safe because 2 of them had LOSs and then Billy was given safety. But like, at least you're flushing LOSs, and like it makes your chance the next round way better to survive. And like, if you know that Natalie and Spencer voted for you, then it's like theoretically at 6, like you could have at the very least a tie. Yeah. But if Marcelo's there, then you could maybe make a 4 and go against the other 3. I don't know.
There's more there, though. There's at least more there if he took the liberty to go for it.
I'll say 2 things about Jacob in this move. First and foremost, this is the first time watching this season that I felt like the bitch move was made. I feel like Marcelo was chosen because he was pretty weak in the round. If we could see it on the TV, they could sense the blood in the water in the game. So you can tell that he's frazzled. That's probably someone you're going to beat. I also just think that the smarter move for Jacob would have been to go after or to call in Josh or Billy, because those are 2 people that are working against you but smiling in your face. You know, Josh, you were talking about how Josh was the swing vote in this, and he swung against you. It's time to swing against him. Yep. It's time to stop being scared. Now, on the flip side of that, just playing devil's advocate with myself, and after having played with Jacob and knowing the caliber of a player he is and how he can read the room, I think this round, Jacob switched to panic mode. I think he made a really big play in the last round, and then this round was sort of dictated by the jury, and they selected someone that put him up. So I think his train of thought is, the jury isn't vibing with what I'm doing in this game after I tried to turn on Muna in the last round. Now they've selected someone that puts me up. So now I need to back off going after Muna and sort of, play into what the house might want. And everyone wants him to pick Marcelo. So that's what he does. But if it doesn't matter what the house or the jury wants, it matters what's going to move you forward. So I think that was a bad choice, because what he should have done, really the one person that he should have taken is Billy. Because if you can chop Billy off, you're beating a fantastic player who has not went into a battle. You're isolating Muna. Spencer has this devout loyalty to Billy. Natalie has some form of loyalty to Billy. Jacob professes loyalty to Billy and thinks that she's loyal to him when she's not. I think it would have been much more beneficial for him to select her. Obviously, I'm happy he didn't because I love her and I'm rooting for her.
Well, she could have
But
been
I
chosen.
think he made a panicked decision to play to the jury because you want to win. So you know the jury wants to see some shit. They don't want to see Muna get fucked over again. They don't want to see Muna and Billy get fucked over again. So I think he played more to the jury and to the house with his pick, hoping that it'll pay dividends, but they're too far along in the game to be making the house move, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily think it was a bitch move because I think like he picked one of his best friends from actual real life. So I think that's like, it's in an isolated, incident. I think that's pretty baller that you just like went against somebody that you're close to. But yeah, I don't think it was smart because I think that also maybe Marcelo is one of the only people that Jacob could beat, or maybe he thinks maybe Marcelo wouldn't drag him at 4. So I don't think it was smart because I think he got rid of a potential number for himself.
Yeah.
Then we get this kind of iconic moment from Marcelo where he goes down to each person and kind of says something nice about them, saying, Natalie, I'm so proud of you. Like, I saw that you were on the outs and that you were struggling, but like, I'm so proud of how big of a game that you played. Josh, you're a pussy. And then, that cracked me up. And then obviously Josh is not one to take that kind of shit. So Josh clapped back. And my favorite part of this whole sequence was Josh said, I hope you go home tonight. And Marcelo goes, it's not nighttime, it's the sun. I was like...
He was out. Like, he was out for lunch mentally. I felt so bad. He was like just trying to be funny, and then he was like, oh, fuck, that wasn't good. Also, I was living for the comedic timing because not only, like, I don't know if Marcelo was just, like, as we were saying, being a little finicky, panicky, but the comedic timing of Josh is never lost on me because immediately when he calls him a pussy, he's like sitting on this pole that I like always forget is there. And he was like, what? He was like literally like what we're all thinking. He immediately said, what? I was dead. Like that shit had me in tears. And at that point I was like, all right, this is gold. Like up until then I was like, okay, whatever, kumbaya. And then he like activated Josh mode. And I was like, okay, I love this.
Yeah, I love how Josh like will clap back, but he like stays cool, calm, and collected most of the time. Like his words are like daggers, but like on the surface, all calm. Cracks me up.
Yes.
I feel like Marcelo's that was him giving up right there. That was a goodbye speech to people. He has psyched himself out so much, instead of firing himself up in that moment. It was like a white flag moment, I thought, which was a letdown. And then again with the ego and the things that you say to Josh. Josh didn't walk in here with 3 friends that he knew from the game.
Yep.
He got fucked in the first round, but guess what? Has not been voted or sent to a battle since. He's putting in work. And you are over here, wearing your flip-flops because your friends are here. You know what I'm saying? Like you are feeling comfortable because there's people you have known and developed relationships with. And you're calling yourself a king in the diary room. I mean, even the edit is like not doing you any favors. He probably did strategize, but we don't ever see nothing. It's very clear the role that he like sort of slid into in this season. So for him to just come out guns blazing, like you're burning a jury vote, potentially, even if you get to the end. You're burning somebody still in the game if you manage to make your way back. And you're just, I don't know. It's just, there's a time and a place, and that was neither, I thought.
He said in his exit
But it was great TV. It was great TV.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's awesome TV. Yeah.
He said in his exit interview that he wanted to target Josh if he came back, which I don't really get because Josh did vote to keep him. And also, like, why are you not going to go after Billy and Moon next round? Josh does not seem like the good target choice for me. And I also don't see how calling him out is going to make him a target next round. Like, I feel like you can just do that, like, more like subtly under the radar, because I don't know if people have forgotten this, but there are LOSs in the game, even though none have been played. Like, why do you want to announce your target so much?
That's not a good move. And it's like there's a lack of rationality this entire round from him. And this is just like the icing on the cake. It was like, why are you doing that now? It's like you gave speeches and now you're actually shooting yourself in the foot. There's nothing you can do when you come back at that point. You have to basically just hope that you were lying, but you weren't. There's no 3D chess there. It's like the opposite. He's playing straight up like checkers on a 97 Windows.
I think there is also this element that like people like you and I, Luke, who have played games, but not really like I think the game that I played that had the highest production value and things were put online was Big Brother Columbus. But, Sequester is kind of the most produced and most broadcasted, I guess. It gets, to 50 to 100,000 people. I think that plays a lot into people's mind more so. You want to be entertaining. You want to put up a fight. You want to leave a legacy, make people remember that you were there. So, I feel like sometimes people give speeches or make moves or things because they want, that sort of, hey, remember me? Like I played, I'm here, and that's what his moment felt like to me. They're calling him out was just sort of like leaving a lasting impact, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, and I did enjoy it, but I think what you just said of realizing that they're on a TV show, quote unquote, and they want to be entertaining contributes to this thing that we talked about earlier where people are not that likable. Like it does come across like people want attention. It does come across like you're trying really hard to be entertaining.
Nobody wants to be the wallflower.
I know. And that's what Natalie really was the first episode is like she does not talk in a way that's like really grabs your attention. But for me, it's just like it's such a breath of fresh air when all these people are like being so abrasive in the diary room and they're like trying to get their point across. And Natalie's just here like, so I really want to target Luna this round. And she's just like talking quietly about her moves. It's like, I don't know. It's nice. So going into the battle match, is there anything that you guys want to say about this, about, the cinder block? I remember saying this when Hunter and Erica, I think, both went into it like on a double elimination in season 3. I thought it was pretty epic. Yes. Maybe it didn't seem. I think that one took place at night, and this one maybe taking place in the day didn't seem quite as epic. And also, like Marcelo was doing terrible. But what do you guys think of it?
I would fucking suck at this one. I just know I would be in the Marcelo boat, and I feel like it looks easy, but it's hard. Like you have to play Pong and basically like drag cinder blocks. Like I know saying that out loud now, it seems a little like ridiculous. But I just feel like I would suck. I don't know. That was my thoughts. When I was like watching this, I was like, I kind of get where he's at. Plus, like we've mentioned, he's having basically just like nerves. So it's going to be hard for him to do anything, but especially play Pong and drag like probably 10-pound cinder blocks.
And balance too.
And balance. And then if you fuck up, you have to be like, damn it, and go right back. So I don't know.
Yeah. This type of challenge is my wheelhouse. This is a physical who wants it more challenge. I would have loved to have been playing and got this for an elimination because I don't know. I love physical challenges. I'm a big fan of them. I think the edit, again, just not doing Marcelo any favors. Him talking about how he's such a skilled beer pong player and then them just showing him miss everyone. I'm like, damn, production is doing this man dirty. Like you showed Jacob doing better, but you're showing Marcelo contradicting himself for the 975th time. And I don't know, it puts a good, mark on Jacob's resume for me because, he was hungry. He wanted it. This is endurance. It don't matter if your lungs are feeling like you're dying. Like, did you play this whole time to give up right now? Or are you smart enough to figure out what's not working and fix it and come from behind? You know what I mean? Like, be the player that you talk yourself up to be. That's what I think.
Yeah. Well, I think we should talk a little bit about how we think the end game is going to play out, who we think has the best chance of winning. Hannah sent me some of her thoughts that she really felt like this episode was a kind of a Billy winner's edit episode. She doesn't know if it's maybe a decoy, like are they trying to make us think that Billy is going to be the winner, but it's actually, she gets cut at the end. There were some quotes that I thought were really interesting, like Spencer is in the diary room saying that Billy is my moral compass in this game. She really centers me when I'm going off track. And I was like, it was just very off to me. It was like Billy is like your therapist in this game. It seems like a really weird dynamic from Spencer's point of view. We had Natalie saying that she has to prove her loyalty to Billy. We got Billy jumping rope. She's intense. She puts on the grill, puts on the sunglasses, and she is like ready to go. So we got a lot of like really fun Billy content this episode. Do you think that's pointing towards a win? Do you think that's just like a big character episode for her?
It's so hard to say with the Sequester edit because I feel like in season 3, which is the one I'm most familiar with, even though I've seen all of them, like Hunter didn't necessarily have like the biggest winner edit until like the very end, like the literal, like probably around now, like final 5 or 6. He made, not huge moves, but he did the moves he had to do to get to where he got to. But then it's like, is Billy's edit, like you're saying, is that indicative of her getting cut at Final 4 because she's such a big threat and they have to build that up that she's a huge threat? Or is it that they want to give us a dope winner who is not, it's like the first a female winner we've had in a minute. I don't know who won season 1 because I didn't watch it, but I was a man too. So I'm saying it could be the first black winner we've had too. I don't know who won season 1, like their race too. So that's what I'm saying. Not that that matters, but it's like a huge milestone for her to make it far in a game where she got to do 2 stealthy things so far. So I think I see it one of 2 ways. Either they're building her up to be this huge thing, or they're building her up to tear her down, which either or is epic, I feel like.
I will say season 2, I had absolutely no idea Kim was the winner. That was really, really well hidden. Season 3, a moment happened, and in that moment, I was like, Hunter's going to win this. And I watched every week hoping that he went, even though he's my friend. When he quoted Kim Mattina, I did not come here to be the Kim Mattina of this season. That happened very early on, and it was such a moment in the episode. And I was like, foreshadowing. He's about to be the Kim Mattina. He's about to be on the bottom, not have great allies, and win. And then it happened. Actually, he messaged me like before the final episode and like told me to send him what my prediction was. And my prediction was him and Jess in the final and that he won. And he's like, wow, you're the first person who put me and Jess in the final and said that I would win. So like he didn't like indicate to me if that was true, but it turned out to be true. Now this one, I feel like Billy is the decoy winner. She is so overly edited. I think she's either getting dragged at 4. She's not going to be the final 4 vote, but she'll get dragged, or she'll lose in final 2. I think the one person locked in the final 2 is Muna, because if you think about it, she's got the 4 now. And the 2 people on the outside of the 4 are Jacob and Natalie. Jacob's tail is between his legs when it comes to Muna. So if he gets voted out, he's not pulling her for a battle. So she's either not going to play her LOS in the vote and wait for the battle, or she's going to play it in the vote and no one's going to call her to battle. Billy's obviously not going to select Muna. Spencer has now reconciled and I think is trying to save face for the fact that he went so strong against, a woman of color in the game. I think that's kind of playing a little bit into his head. I think he's trying to save face. I think the only people that might call Muna into a battle would be Josh or Natalie. But I feel like Muna's going to do some recon with Natalie, sort of plug that, Minnesota they're from, right?
Yeah.
Plug that connection and really use her fucking skills of emotional manipulation that she's so good at. And I think no one's going to pull her in. I think at 4, Billy and Muna are going to be sitting there along with Spencer. That 4th person I'm not sure of. But I think Spencer's going to get voted out. He's going to pull that 4th person and leave Billy and Muna, or potentially pull Billy and leave Muna and someone else. But yeah, I feel like Muna is the undercover winner at it, behind Billy, who's so overly edited in the face. I think it's too obvious. I don't think Spencer has a winner at it. I don't think Natalie has a winner at it. I don't think Jacob has a winner at it. So that would leave Josh? I feel like what you see as a spectator versus a player is different when it comes to Josh and Natalie, because we see people that were on the outs the entire time and who have fought. But the people in the game kind of see people that, they see Josh and Natalie as people that avoided the cyclone that erupted after Katie left, when everything started to get crazy and shit. And Natalie and Josh were kind of just like their wallflowers, that are in somebody's pocket or just a little bit quieter. I think the jury is heavily in Muna's favor. I'm calling it. I think Muna wins this season.
Man, to me, that's like the worst case scenario. Like, she's the last person that I want to win out of the people remaining, honestly, just because I don't think that I don't like the way that she talks about the game sometimes. And I feel like, she was saying everyone's playing scared. Everyone just wants to get out the big players. They can sit out at the end with somebody weak. I'm like, yeah, that's like the point of the game, is to get out big players that you can't beat in the end. Like, that's like, unless you're a huge player, like, you want to get rid of the huge players. So just sometimes she gets on my nerves with that kind of stuff. And, several episodes she said no one is making moves, that everyone's playing weak and your moves don't count because the only people eliminated were eliminated by battle match. I'm like, I don't vibe with any of that stuff. I want Josh to win, and I think he has a really good chance to win, because I think tonight showed me how good of a speaker he is and how self-aware he is about the game he played. I think he can expose a lot of under the radar things in a way that maybe somebody like Jess last season didn't really articulate her game as well.
True.
I think that's a huge aspect of those people that play the under the radar games is can you articulate it in the end? And I think he can. I think that I think the way that Muna gets eliminated is by Natalie dragging her, because I think Natalie said in this episode, like, I have to finish the move that I started. I have to get out Muna. And I think that she's still going to be on that. If this 4 sticks together and let's say they get out Jacob and he actually goes next round, I think at 5, if they vote out Natalie, she'll drag Muna and get her out.
It's so weird to me too. You go.
I don't think that Natalie will drag Muna into a battle at 5. I think if Billy doesn't go into a battle at 6 and Natalie's voted out at 5, I think she drags Billy. I think people are going to start thinking about, we can't let someone get to the end that's never been to a battle. I also think that Muna is smart enough to understand that she does have to do that recon with Natalie and pull her back into her. You know what I'm saying? So I think that she's going to go that route with it.
Yeah, I don't think Natalie's going to fall for it though. I don't think she'll fall for Muna's tricks.
True. This is a big ass jury. Like, I know that like it's not something that I thought about until recently. Like, it's an 11-person jury, right? Or 10, 11, right?
11.
So, and it's like people like Jay West, who was the first boot, and then we have Katie, who is an early boot, even though she's been around for a minute watching. Like, it's only been a week, but like still. So I'm curious to see how those people shake out. And Luke and Hannah mentioned it in the group chat that we have, but like I was mentioning how this season just kind of like lacks the lust for me, even though strategically it's probably the best. I just like kind of lack something, and I don't know what it is. And they mentioned it's just something that there's no one that like we root for. And like I root for Billy because I just like who she is outside the game. I think she's cool, but like I just don't know if she can win. And that's what makes me think like, fuck, like how does this all boil down? So I think like that's why I can't even choose a winner, because I'm like, I want to wait a week, even if I'm like whatever, by that point it's obvious. I just don't even know where to clock it. Like I really like, where the hell is this going?
Little additive I just want to make to sort of support my theory there about Natalie facing Billy. Do you remember when Natalie got voted out and she gave a confessional after getting voted out saying that she wanted to go after Katie, but if Billy betrayed her again, she would come after her?
Yes.
Or pull her for a battle? I think that's a foreshadowing for Billy voting for Natalie in 6 or 5 and Natalie selecting Billy for a battle. Because at this point, how do you let someone go to the end without battling? That right there,
I know. It's insane that she's gone this long.
No, that's dangerous.
Right.
Like, and they're all smart people. So I think she'll put the shit aside with Muna to sort of understand, you know, Billy is essentially just like Muna, but didn't get voted out and hasn't got battled. So this is truly the threat that I should go for and select Billy to battle.
I think Billy beats anybody in Final 2 personally. Like, I think that she can beat anybody, even if she is not self-aware about her game, even if she's not self-aware about the loyalty stuff. I think if she has not gone into a battle match until Final 6 at least, or if she never goes into one, and she has the assassin round, like those two things alone are like, I don't even care what speech she gives. People are going to vote for that because both of those things are super impressive. I think that she even beats Muna in the end. I think that you can... I don't even know if Billy's would badmouth Muna in Final 2, but like, yeah, Muna was eliminated from the game. Muna's been voted for. I think Billy is the front runner in terms of threat level.
If they set the value of Final Tribal Council as like trust and trustworthiness, and then it's Muna versus Billy, I think that is actually one of the ways where Billy going for the trust, like the trust aspect of it can actually pay off, because I think at that point she has a little more trust in her back pocket. But when it comes to the threat level, Muna was coming into the season, Muna was like fucking, oh my god, she's Muna. Like even I don't even know if I've seen Muna's first mini, but I just remember knowing like, oh shit, I know Muna. Like that's crazy. So that's where I come on the side of like, oh okay, like if it comes down to trust of Billy versus Muna, Billy has a shot. But if it comes down to threat level, it's like, oh no shit, it's like Muna. But it's true though. Billy has 2 things in her belt loop. But yeah, sorry, Jimmy.
I feel like...
Sorry, I was just going to put this up by Ryan, because I remember in the round that Spencer and Brent were voted out, Billy and Natalie both had confessionals saying, you know, I can't get her yet, but at Final 6, I want her to go. So that would be great foreshadowing for if they go
I think Natalie will get voted out and will select Billy to battle at either 6 or 5. Now, in terms of talking about their games, I think from an objective spectator point of view, Billy's game should beat everybody.
Yeah.
I think.
I do too.
However, I kind of disagree with you a little bit, Pat. I think Billy's chances go down progressively if she tries to pitch the trust and loyalty thing, no matter who she's against, because none of them want to hear that shit. That they're not going to be impressed by the fact that you threw votes XYZ rounds. You know, they want to know the things that you did, other than the things that were, you know, gifted to you. She was gifted to be the killer.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying.
See,
like
I see that too.
She played it amazingly, but it was just given to her. You know what I'm saying? She was not leading charges. She was never leading charges on votes. She was never the person that was saying, this is who we're going to vote. This is how we're going to do it. She was always latching herself onto other people's ideas. So she has definitely a path to win, but she's got to sell herself correctly. And if she goes the route of trust and loyalty, it's going to backfire. That being said, I think the 3 people with the best chances to win are Muna, Jacob, and Billy. I think for Spencer, Josh, or Natalie to win, they have to be sitting next to some combination of each other. Do I think that's necessarily fair or warranted of their game? No, but you have to read this jury. This jury is very pro Billy, pro Muna, and they're going to see Jacob and see all the moves that he makes. And I know Jacob can speak at the end. They're not going to sit there and be like, great job, Josh and Natalie. You were kind of hidden behind bigger threats after the first couple rounds. It's like, Josh and Natalie and Spencer were almost at a disservice by the fact that people knew each other in 2 different ways. In the first way, it put them on the outs, and it resulted in them being the first people voted out.
Right.
In the second way, it took them out of the narrative. The game blew up because the people who knew each other started going after each other.
Right.
Like you can't attribute that to your story. So I think Josh, Natalie, and Spencer have to be sitting next to one of each other to win. I don't think they beat any of the other 3. I think Muna's probably top tier as far as reading the jury, because I know Homegirl can speak at the end. She can speak strategically, socially, emotionally, competitively, as the underdog, as the ringleader, anything. She'll even take credit for shit that she had no part in doing. And she will sell that shit to you. She's that damn good. Billy, I hope she did her research as far as what went wrong. Can you hear me, by the way?
You're good. You're good.
I hope she did her research as what went wrong in her game when she made it to the end and lost, and is able to really read the room. But I'm telling you, I think Muna wins. I'm calling it.
That's a good way to frame it too. And obviously, you know the jury best because like you pitch your case in front of it. But also, it's true because like in Sequester, it's not necessarily like a real jury. They don't want to hear like morality. They want to hear like, no, we want to hear the opposite. How the fuck did you backstab people and get to this point and make a threat of yourself? So that's something that I think I'm just projecting my want of a Billy win onto this jury. Which, like you said, I agree at that point, especially that
you got to look at it from like player perspective versus viewer perspective, and think about what they are in that moment. Do you guys
100%.
kind of feel like, though, the juries in Sequester are always kind of unnecessarily like vicious?
They come.
Like
they
I feel like
people.
It's always like pans over to them and they look like.
Look, I can't talk about being
every
vicious
season.
on a jury.
I mean, I've been a vicious juror before. I'm owning, but it's almost like the entire mood of the jury has a storm cloud with a lightning bolt ready to zap your ass.
Yeah.
And
Well, don't help.
it's so like it's wild.
Yeah. Real quick, what you were saying about like how Billy was kind of gifted the assassin role, how that's kind of like a gifted point on her resume. That's exactly how I felt about when Muna came back into the game and was able to pick pairs. I'm like, yeah, cool. She got Spencer and Brent voted out, but like it was basically handed to her. Like she basically got to handpick who went home because everyone.
But she will own the shit out of it. She will. She'll play her LOS and nullify one vote that really does nothing, but she'll own the shit out of the fact that she had an LOS in this game. It's about selling yourself. You could be the worst player ever and get to the end and win if you just sell yourself. And if there's anyone in there that knows how to sell, it's Muna. Jacob is the used car salesman. Muna is selling you Porsches when you got no money. She's selling you a Lexus, a Bugatti, like a Lamborghini, everything when you ain't got no money. And it's going to get repoed 2 weeks later, but she'll talk you into buying it. She's just that damn good.
Yeah.
That's a good point, though.
I cannot wait to see how the end game is going to play out. I think with some of the people that we have left, with those big personalities like Billy and Josh, like there's bound to be some big fireworks left, and I think a lot of amazing like strategy is still going to be left to play in like the next couple of rounds. But I think it is time we wrap it up. Thank you for everybody who tuned in to watch. You can find this on our Facebook page, YouTube page, and also wherever you get podcasts. Jamie, thank you so much for coming on. You were
thanks for having me, guys.
Evan said very early in the chat, Jamie speaks no lies.
Mm-hmm.
we know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I cannot wait to watch the next episode, and we'll be back here next week to talk about it. Thanks, guys. Bye.
Yeah, have a great one.